Well, first off, let me just congratulate you guys to getting to this point, to launching a new business and starting a company. But let's start with you, Tim. Like, what made you want to start this company, and how did you get to this point?
So it was a few years ago. I was doing some humanitarian work over in Taiwan, and just part of the outfits we'd wear, were short sleeve button-up shirts or long sleeve shirts, and I just remember constantly thinking, I wish they had some type of performance stretch type fabric that just made it a little bit more breathable. I mean, growing up wearing Nike, Adidas stuff every day, you kind of wish they had a dress shirt that could do that same kind of thing. And so that's where the initial idea came from, something that maybe was liquid repellent or stain resistant, just because I feel like every guy is running into something where they're getting stuff on their shirt. And as I started consulting with Joe, he definitely saw the vision and the passion behind it, and kind of started developing samples and brought us kind of where we are now.
That's great. So you mentioned you started talking with Joe. Can you talk about that relationship and how you guys got together
For sure.
to start this?
Oh, we were just messing around the whole time. I felt like at first I thought it was just, just talking about cool ideas, like, oh, what if we could make a shirt that did this, this, and this? And then I think we kind of just came together, and you were like, this could be pretty awesome, so on and so forth.
Right, and Joe and I, when I returned home from my work over in Asia, Joe contacted me about doing some work with him in the pest control business, and so I started there 4 summers ago, and then just kind of stayed, and I was kind of working right alongside of him for the past 4 years, and so that relationship was always really strong. And so when the idea came for a business, we both trust each other a lot, and said, maybe we should see where this goes, and kind of brought us where we are.
So Joe, what were your initial thoughts as Tim came to you and it's like, man, I got this idea, this is what I'm thinking, this is where it came from. What were your initial thoughts?
I mean, honestly, like, Tim's passionate about very specific things. Clothing is definitely one of them, and I think that passion that he had definitely inspired me. And then just knowing his family, his background, and the connections that he had, especially in serving his humanitarian work and things like that, and being fluent in Mandarin and all these different things, I feel like it'd be a fun opportunity to go after. Obviously, incredibly nerve-wracking to start something and fly across the country to China and just start, diving into it and figuring it out. But I've always trusted Tim a ton, and through our working relationship that we've had, it's been fun. So we just jumped into it with 2 feet, just ran with it.
That's great. Well, I think obviously relationships in business is really important, and they can either go really well or they cannot go so well, and it appears that things continue to go well for you guys, and congrats and good luck with that. You guys have talked about the work that you've done in Taiwan and China. Tim, can you talk about the importance of the relationship that you have with manufacturers in China and how that came to be?
Definitely. I think one thing I learned through doing my work, and also as I've studied the Chinese culture a lot, is that their culture is based on relationships. And that is kind of fundamental in everything they do, is their relationship with people. And I really discovered that as I started to make my initial trips over there, and I was traveling around in a small car, going to these different factories across the countryside, that I think in America, we traditionally think of business deals as, Wall Street, you're all in the nicest suits, you're sitting in a big conference room board meeting, looking out the skyline, and you're signing big contracts, and that's where the deals are made. I found quickly in China, it's very different. It's while you're sitting in the back of a car, no AC, you're burning up, and you're just joking, laughing, just hanging out, and you say, hey, any possible way we can get that price just a little bit cheaper? Yeah, sure, no worries, we can do it. As long as you have that good relationship, anything can happen. And I really found that to be true. And so we've had this relationship with the factories through family for over 20 plus years now. And because that initial relationship was so good, it's now extended to me because I'm part of that family and they view it that way. And so it's been paramount in everything that we do, because we have that assurance that everything that they're making for us is of the highest quality because of the relationship that we have.
I will say too, not gonna lie, when he first approached me about it, it's nerve-wracking thinking about doing business in China sometimes, or in Asia. Like, there's just some jaded views a lot of times, but hearing him and his family talking about their relationships. And then when I first went over there, man, that is so true. Those relationships mean the world in business. Everything is like, you shake a hand, that's your word. That's everything. It's not a contract, not anything like that. But if you can find people that you trust in those factories as the manufacturers, everything can go so much better. It was nerve-wracking at first, but once we went over there and we started talking to them, I was definitely put to ease with that.
That's great. Joe, maybe can you talk about the experience that you've had previous to Truwear, and really why Tim came to you with this idea and said, "Hey, let's do this."
Yeah. I mean, my background is being born and raised in Minnesota, and all my siblings working in kind of corporate America overall. I started following those same paths originally. I went to school. I wanted to go work in corporate America. But then I got involved, and I had some relationships with some other businessmen that brought me in to actually run pest control companies. Nice. And with these pest control companies, I learned all the little details of a business, everything that goes into it. And it was kind of all on my shoulders, which was a lot to take on, but it was probably the best learning experience that I've ever had. Once I started learning these little details and piecing these things together and working and finding the relationships that I loved and that I cared about in the business world, it became super easy. I consider myself a sponge. I'm not the type of person that is the smartest in the room, but I will try my hardest to surround myself with those people, so that way I can learn and that we can grow together. And it's funny because, I mean, when we first started, it was Tim and I just like, let's see what we can make of this, right? And we both have very similar personalities, and so we started bringing in other people, and honestly, it was hard at first, but we saw the importance of bringing in key people that are more analytical, a little more detail-oriented, or designers that knew all these different things. And that's kind of what opened it up for us. And once we started realizing, you know what, this can be an amazing business. And as long as we treat our people the best way, and we have the relationships just like we have the relationships in China now, that for us is the biggest thing.
That's great. And you've kind of talked about this, but a follow-up question. So you now had this experience with a pest control company, running this business and being involved with that for a long time. What qualities do you want to instill in Truwear to help this business grow and be successful?
Yeah, I mean, in the pest control business, we always talk about people first, money second. And if you have that mentality, obviously, you do business for money to some extent. Like, you want to support your family, you want to have that. But when you put people first, and when you put your customer first, or even a manufacturer, or you take the side of somebody else that's not even your opinion overall, it extends a line of trust that is above and beyond anything else. And that trust that's built when you do people first, money second, and you have that mentality, I think that's one of the biggest things I want to instill in this company overall. I think the second biggest thing would be to be always evolving, or be that sponge where we're always trying to learn. We're always trying to learn from the best and grow. That's the reason why we love doing these interviews and learning from you and learning from our designers and other people. A lot of times when co-founders start a company, they could just sit at the top and just do their thing. But I love learning the little details, and Tim does as well. Like, we've been diving into it.
So, Tim, you guys have been at this for a while now, and you just had your launch. What has surprised you up to this point to get to where you're at?
I think what surprised me the most is just how much more detail-oriented we've become. I think off the bat we thought, okay, to make a shirt, it's not that hard. I mean, just stitching a couple buttons, not really that much. And then about 200 hours of FaceTimes with China later, I figured out that there's a lot more that goes into it than just, piecing something together. And so for us to be able to bring people in that could teach us a lot about that, it was really surprising to see, wow, I really don't know a lot about this. But now I feel like I'm starting to, gain a big understanding and a greater appreciation for the work that these designers do and making the highest quality product.
Got it. Now, I'm curious, you talked about these things that surprised you. I'm assuming up to this point you've had several setbacks. Can you talk about the setbacks that you've experienced and maybe how you've overcome them so far?
For sure. So one of the ones, and every company can speak to this that's in the apparel realm, is sizing. You want to try to find something that fits every person perfectly, right? one of the issues initially is that, I thought, hey, I'm a medium. We'll just make me a medium. We can do everything else a little bit bigger to make it a large, XL, whatever. We found that that's not how it works. That, you have to have kind of a standard that you go by. And that was one of the initial setbacks that we had, is we were having to make adjustments to the sizing in that way. And that's why we were so adamant in bringing people in that, come from these design backgrounds that said, no, here's the way to do it. And then we can make adjustments from that. And so once we were able to overcome that, it's been smooth sailing on the sizing part from that. But that's probably the biggest setback, I would say. I don't know if you have other ideas of things we've had.
Yeah, I mean, it's been funny because when you start a company, you want it to just work. You want to blow up with it. You want to run with it, and you want to just have it, make you $1 million right off the bat. But that's not the case. And when these setbacks have occurred, you can decide to, let's just launch it. Let's just do it because you want to make that money, or you can decide to make the best quality thing you possibly can. And when we've surrounded ourselves with yourself, with Tim, with all the different people that are involved in our company, what I've realized is when we bring these people in, it kind of lifts our mentality to, we got to be the best. We got to elevate the way that we're doing this company to make sure that every stitch is right, to make sure the details are correct. And although we're going to have more setbacks, the biggest thing that we're going to do is always get better and better. And we're going to make this thing the best it can possibly be, to be honest. Like the thing that we want is that our customers and the consumers that are out there and the manufacturers and our employees feel that passion and that value that we have in them and in what we're doing to make the highest quality items we can.
That's great. I know from personal experience that oftentimes you learn a lot more from the setbacks that you have, more than the successes. And it certainly appears that that's been the case for you guys. And I think that's the nature of people that find success, are the ones that are willing to learn from those. And we talked a lot about, culture and how important it is to instill like a really good culture in a business. Joe, can you talk about what your mindset is in terms of employee satisfaction?
For sure. It goes back to one of my first statements surrounding trust. Like, you gotta extend that trust every once in a while. Even though I can turn into a micromanager, and some of the employees that we have will definitely say that, and they'll be frustrated with me because I just take it over and don't let them do it. And I've learned that as you let other people stumble, and as you said, learn from their mistakes and grow, the culture that we want to create is that, okay, it's okay to make mistakes, own up for it, and then make it better. And you do that. Like, you take that on yourself, take that yoke on you, and you make that a little bit better the next time. And I think when we have that culture of consistent improvement and always trying to be better every single step of the way, I think that's the culture that we're trying to instill more than anything else.
Well, that's great. Now we talked a lot about culture with Joe and what he wants to do as far as employee satisfaction, but can you talk about the vision that you have for Truwear?
For sure. I think kind of going back to the beginning as well, I talked about before I went and did my humanitarian work over in Taiwan, grew up wearing, the Nikes and the Adidas and things like that. And those are just household names. Everyone in the world can recognize a Nike logo or an Adidas logo. And I think that's kind of the vision that I have for this company is I don't want this to be some 4-year thing and then I'm done, I want this to be a brand where when people see it around the world or people are wearing our clothing, it's automatically equivalated with, that's high quality. Oh, he's wearing a Truwear shirt? Oh, those are super nice. I think that's kind of the hope, And so as we're developing the products and all these quality checks and everything, I'm keeping that in mind that I want this to be a long-term company, and I want that perception from the public to be that it's the highest quality product you can get.
That's great. Joe, we've talked about employee satisfaction. We talked about creating a culture that people can learn from their mistakes and continue to grow. Can you talk about what your plan is individually to help grow and help your employees learn and grow and continue to be, great employees?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think again, starting off with giving them the chance more than anything and putting them in a spot where they can actually thrive and grow something, plant something and see it grow and give them that chance to do it. That's one. And then two, just creating the position that fits the individual a lot of times. A lot of times we have these positions that we want to fill, and I try and shove you, Taysom, into that position when you just don't fit in that. Like, your personality doesn't necessarily work for that. I want to create positions within the company that work for the individuals, that can show their truest talents out there, and that we can find even the smallest thing in somebody, but that can be the niche that makes this company something that stands out a little bit more and goes above and beyond. And I think that would be the biggest thing, is understanding all of our employees and our customers' personalities and seeing what they want, seeing what they're going after, and then feed that passion and give them the chance to do it.
That's great. I would say, as an athlete, the best coaches I've been around are those coaches that know their players so well that they know what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, and they never put their player in a position they can't be successful in. So I love that mindset. Tim, I know that there are a lot of different avenues of Truwear. Can you talk about Truwear as a whole and what makes up Truwear?
So the cool part about our company is that there really are two sides to it. One of them is the dress shirts and the dress pants, ties, those types of professional menswear type of items. The other side is we're able to do bulk production for companies that want specific items for swag or for different gear for their employees. And so the nice part is that we're able to help mitigate some of that risk that a lot of companies have with funding and different things, because we can use those funds allocated from the business to business side to help fund our e-commerce side. So that's one of the overarching theme, I guess, of Truwear would be having both those sides of the company.
Yeah, and a lot of companies these days, they want to represent themselves. Instead of co-branding with all sorts of different brands that are out there that have their brand on this chest and then you're co-branding with them, it's like, be you. Like, we want to help companies fulfill what they're looking for as well and represent themselves the best way possible. And I think that goes alongside of this as well. Even just in our culture in general, we want to bring the confidence, or allow each individual to have that confidence, each business to have that confidence, and not be so kind of confusing in the marketplace, and have your brand stand out and build it that way.
That's great. I love that. And you've talked about dress shirts. You've talked about really building whatever it is your company you're working for, whatever they want. Can you talk about, Joe, what drives new product? What are you guys doing to push new product out into the market, whether it be a nice dress shirt and a design, or whether it's helping a company build something for them specifically?
For sure. I mean, you got to stay up with the trends, that's for sure. I mean, everything from a flat bill brimmed hat to a curved one now, and just the change that happens year after year with every item, from dress wear where it's performance fabric to more of a starchy style where it's a little more stiff, and some people like that. We have a designer who's been designing since he was 15 years old that's involved in our company, and he's well over 15 right now. We have people who are even just interns that I've found that they know details so well, and they have a little passion behind that and been able to help them thrive. And so bringing in everyone's understanding into the company and then looking out elsewhere. So attending trade shows or learning from Fashion Week, or these different details to try and stay ahead of the game. That's definitely one of the biggest things we've been working on.
Oh, that's great. I think one of the things that I continue to hear throughout this interview is making sure that you surround yourselves with people that have different strengths than you guys do. And I'm excited to continue to see what comes next. So congratulations on that. Tim, last question. We talked about the giving side of the company. What really motivated to give back for you?
For sure. Joe and I talked about this a lot from the very beginning, just wanting to establish something that meant more. Realize that there's a myriad of ways that you can make money. There's tons of different business ventures you can go on, whatever it is, to be able to bring in income for your family. But we thought it'd be cool to have something that really gives us purpose and gives us drive. So when Joe and I were discussing what we want to do with this brand, we decided it would be best to have this side that would give back to benefit more people and to be able to reach out to those that were really in need, because that just hits close to home for both of us. And so that was really the drive and the passion behind the whole giving arm of the company.
Yeah, and so, I mean, just like what Tim was talking about, the giving just doesn't mean a lot to us. It's what we want in our clothing. We want to empower people. We want to give them confidence and strike that into people when they're wearing our clothing. But it's also in our company. Like, we want to give people the chance, give people the opportunity. So whether that's donating funds to addiction recovery facilities, or to grants, or to scholarships, or these different things that we can do to help people that are struggling, to help families that are actually struggling and help them recuperate and regain their confidence again, or whether that's in our clothing. Either way, that's the biggest thing that we want.
Well, that's great. I love hearing you guys talk about the giving side, and it's clear to see you guys are really passionate about that, and it's an easy thing to get behind. Last question for you, Joe. Obviously, sitting here talking to you guys in this interview, having seen the time that you put into the business to grow it and to have this thing be successful, clearly you're really passionate about it. Can you talk about where that passion comes from and what drives and motivates you for this business to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, just like you and I had talked about, one, I do not like failure. I do not want to fail. I don't want to embarrass myself or my family or my colleagues, my partners, my peers. Like, I want to represent all of us in a way that's that people can look up to more than anything. And so my passion comes from those that are around me. That's one big thing. And the second thing is definitely my family. So my wife and my children and you guys, like it's something that's so powerful to me to see and to be motivated by you, watching you in the NFL and watching you overcome your so many injuries and these different things that you've dealt with as well. The passion that I see you have in fighting back, or in my wife, who every day just struggles with our 3 little munchkins, and how hard it can be, but then seeing us get to the other side. The passion comes from my family and the people that are around me. That's the biggest thing for me.
Well, congratulations, and to get to where you're at currently, and I know there's obviously still a lot of work that's going to go into this business, but there's no doubt that you guys are going to continue to make this thing work and be successful. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to see the growth and everything that happens individually and as a whole with the company. So good luck.